In this video, I will show you 5 different tricks to generate cool sounding snares for old school or lo-fi hip hop. If you want to have some more lower high-end punch in your snare, instead of scrolling through a bunch of snare samples, you can simply use the snare you already have. With this snare, I want a little bit more punch in the higher frequencies, so I doubled the percent snare and pitch shifted it up. To really only get the initial hit, I cut away the decay. I activate a bandpass filter and look for the frequency I want to use. As you can hear now, playing the two samples together makes the snare brighter and punchier. The difference is subtle but there. Because of how sampling went hand in hand with turntables, in hip hop you hear a lot of snares that are slowed down. Here I have a snare. First step, I pitch shifted the snare down. However, I want to keep the initial punch of the snare, so I go to the pitch envelope in my sampler and make it so the first few milliseconds of the snare stay on original pitch. As you can hear, this is way too extreme, so I decrease the pitch shift a little bit. Like this, I get a punchy snare with a slowed down feeling without having to layer samples. In order to make something sound vintagey, an easy and common trick is to cut away the high-end frequencies of a snare. I apply a low-pass filter and handle the cutoff. Since there's too much boomy low-end for my taste, I pitch the snare up a bit. All the frequencies that are being pushed beyond my set cutoff are being cut. You can also experiment and apply a bandpass instead that cuts both parts of the low and high end. The same can be achieved with cabinet simulators. For example, Isotope Vinyl has a knob for that here. What you often hear in lo-fi hip-hop is a snare that sounds more like a side stick, almost just like a click. To get this sound, first decrease the frequency spectrum with a bandpass filter. Then we shorten the sample a lot with the image in our head that it's as short as us hitting a piece of solid wood. We then play around with the cutoff knob to find a sound we like. In the sample tab, I apply audio warp to speed the sample up or slow it down without affecting the pitch too much. See, we're getting closer to the sound. In order to make the sound less dry, we can add a delay with a very short delay time. Like this, we somewhat simulate the piece of wood vibrating after we hit it. And if you fancy, you can add some reverb too. After that, you can copy and experiment further with the cutoff. For the last part, we actually use 3 samples, but to get these 3 samples, you can simply use the tricks we just learned and apply them. We have 2 samples that lie in a higher frequency spectrum. Make sure they are more or less the same volume. One we pan to the right, the other we pan to the left. The snare in the middle will get a low pass filter. As we play all 3 samples together, we get a nice stereo snare that you hear often in lo-fi as well. I hope you guys liked the video. If it was useful, please subscribe or give it a thumbs up. I'm going to make more videos in the future to show you more of my tricks, my workflow, and my ideas. Cheers.